You know that device you have in your pocket right now? It's so much more than just a phone. It's actually a super powerful little computer that's quietly recording pretty much every move you make. And when a crime happens, that little device can become the most important witness in the room. So let's dive into the absolutely fascinating world of mobile forensics. This sounds like something straight out of a movie, but it's a chilling and very real case. A guy named Ronald Williams was in a total rage. The thing is, he had no idea his phone had accidentally pocket dialed his victim. The entire horrific attack, everything, was captured on her voicemail. And that one accidental call, it became the critical piece of evidence that put him away for good. A story like that just makes you wonder, right? How can something so simple, something that happens to us all the time, become the key to solving a murder? How do investigators take these everyday objects we can't live without and turn them into tools for justice? Well, the answer really starts with understanding what our phones actually are today. They're not just for making calls anymore, not by a long shot. They're deeply personal computers, and they create this detailed digital shadow of our lives, tracking who we talk to, what we're saying, and even where we've been. And the amount of evidence you can get from them has just exploded. I mean, think back to the old school phones. What do they have? Call history, text messages, an address book. Useful stuff for sure. But today's smartphones, man, they contain our entire digital life story. GPS waypoints, photos, videos, your internet history, all your social media info. The list just goes on and on. Let's just take a simple text message. A call log just tells you who called who. But a text, that gives investigators a full word-for-word transcript of the conversation. And here's the crucial part. The timestamp is often added by the cell network itself, which makes it incredibly reliable and very hard to fake in court. And it's not just about what you say, it's about where you are. Get this, even if you turn your GPS off, your phone is constantly pinging the nearest cell towers. Investigators can get that log data and literally create a map of your general movements over time. It just goes to show your phone is always leaving a trail of digital breadcrumbs. Okay, now this is where it gets really mind-blowing. Take a photo. It's not just the picture, right? Hidden inside that file is something called ESIF data. This is metadata that can have the make and model of the phone, the exact time the picture was snapped, and sometimes the precise GPS coordinates. It can literally, and I mean literally, place a suspect at the scene of the crime holding the camera. All right, so the data is there. We know it's packed with all this information. But actually getting to it, that's a massive challenge. How do investigators pull all this info off a phone without accidentally changing or destroying it? It's a really delicate, high-stakes process. And I'm not kidding when I say high stakes. This kind of evidence is incredibly fragile. A single incoming text message could overwrite a deleted photo that's crucial to the case. Or worse, a criminal could remotely wipe the phone and poof, everything's gone in an instant. So the clock is always ticking. So to prevent any of that from happening, investigators have to follow a very strict protocol. First, they find the device. Then they immediately document everything, anything and everything that's visible on the screen. And then comes the most critical step of all. They have to isolate it from all networks. Finally, they'll bag up any cables or accessories they find with it. So how do they do that? How do they isolate it? Well, they use this really cool piece of gear called a Faraday bag. It's basically a special container that blocks all radio signals. We're talking cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, you name it. It's like putting the phone in a digital black box, perfectly preserving the evidence exactly as it was found. Okay, so the phone is safe in the bag. Now it's time to get the data out. There are really three main ways they do this. A manual extraction is just what it sounds like. An examiner literally just scrolls through the phone's menus. A logical extraction is a bit deeper. It connects to the phone's operating system to pull all the accessible files. But the gold standard, that's the physical extraction. It creates a perfect bit-for-bit copy of the entire memory chip, getting everything. And why is that physical extraction so powerful? Well, because it can often recover deleted files. See, when you delete something from your phone, the flash memory doesn't actually wipe the data right away. It just marks that space as available to be overwritten later. So that old data often just sits there, waiting for a deep scan to come find it. And yeah, this isn't something you can do with a standard USB cable you've got lying around. No way. There are thousands of different phone models out there, and each one can require its own specialized gear to crack. Tools like the Celebrate UFED and the Exact system you see here are part of a huge arsenal forensics labs need just to keep up. But, getting all that raw data is really only half the battle. Now the real detective work begins. It's about taking those billions of ones and zeros and weaving them together to reconstruct what happened, to tell a story that's going to hold up in court. And what a story it can tell. With this data, investigators can see exactly who a suspect was contacting, what they were talking about, and where they were moment by moment. They can build these incredibly detailed timelines, map out entire criminal networks, and maybe find that one single incriminating photo that cracks the whole case wide open. And this isn't just theory, this has a huge real-world impact. There was this case in Oregon where investigators were up against drug dealers using those cheap, disposable burner phones. But by carefully analyzing the call histories from all these different devices, they were able to connect the dots, link the entire network, and eventually take down over 20 members of the drug ring. Just imagine how you can build a case with this. Okay, so at 10:15 p.m., boom, a text message puts the suspect near the crime scene. An hour later, a call log shows him talking to a known accomplice. Then by 2 a.m., cell tower data tracks his phone moving away from that area. And the final nail in the coffin, the next morning, a physical extraction pulls a deleted photo of the evidence off his phone. That is an airtight timeline. But here's the thing. This field is always changing. For every new technique investigators come up with, criminals are finding new ways to try and cover their digital tracks. It's this perpetual, high-tech game of cat and mouse. And this technology has a pretty dark side, too. There's this malicious software out there, sometimes called spouseware, that can turn a phone into a secret spy device. It can log every text, record every call, and track every location, all without the owner knowing. And that creates a whole new set of crimes and forensic challenges. So to avoid getting caught, criminals are definitely getting smarter. They use those burner phones we talked about, they're constantly swapping out SIM cards to hide their identity, and they use remote wipe features to try and destroy the evidence the second they think the police are onto them. But for every move they make, investigators have a countermove. They're using incredibly advanced techniques like JTAG access, which lets them plug directly into the phone's hardware and bypass software locks. And in the most extreme cases, they'll do what's called a chip-off extraction, where they physically remove the memory chip from the circuit board to read it. It's basically digital surgery. So just remember this. That device that we carry with us everywhere we go is a silent witness. It sees where we go, it hears what we say, and it remembers what we do. It holds the story of our lives. And that really just leaves us with one last big question. Who else is reading that story?